Hello, we are here today to talk about a serious issue known as a revolution. If you or a loved one has experienced a revolution within your lifetime, you may be entitled to serious mental rehabilitation and life rehabilitation in order to get over the terrors of a revolution.
Many people may have stigmas about what exactly a revolution is. And today we are here to help you diagnose and treat the revolution, which may come about to anyone at any time. Some signs to look for include increased violence among people. Before a revolution, there is a lot of tension and anger between people, and there will likely be increased violence and increased attacks in order to prove a point.
The increased awareness and noticeability of a problem within society. Revolutions do not happen without a cause and usually have a common point that is trying to be achieved. In the American Revolution, the main cause was the need to gain independence from Britain because they were constantly being taxed without any representation in British Parliament. This is known as taxation without representation. The British were unfairly taxing the Americans as a result of the 7 Years' War, which had a big effect on the economy. Since America was considered a mercantilist colony, this seemed fair to the British. However, the Americans had no part in the war, and thus the taxation, with no way of letting the Americans have a say in the government, was arguably one of the leading causes of the revolution.
Problems within the governmental systems. The form of government is the way that things get done within a country or society, whether that government be democratic, dictatorly, secular, non-secular, or the like. If there was an issue within that society at that time and government had not solved the problem, no matter which way it chose to do so, it is often a reflection on how corrupt the government system is at that time. In the French Revolution, the government was one of the main reasons that the French Revolution even occurred. Instead of listening to the people's problems and attempting to find a solution, the king and queen simply disregarded it. This not only led to chaos, but also the government, king, and queen also got guillotined. The king and queen chose to only tax the lowest class and simply allow the first and second estate to pass through, showing the corruption of the government at that time.
If these symptoms begin to come about, especially all together in a certain time period, it is likely that a revolution is coming upon you. If a diagnosis of a revolution is confirmed, talk to your family government official to begin treatment. Luckily, there are some precautions you can take at home to lessen the effects of a revolution upon you. These precautions include in the home. Parents, it is best not to shield your children from what is going on in a revolution. Up to a certain limit, of course, and this only applies to older children. This way, they can make informed decisions in their future to better their lives and their children's lives. If a revolution is occurring, it is likely that it will directly affect the world and their future.
In the workforce, government leaders, if you have a position in the government, regardless of how you feel about the revolution that is going on, remember that you have been elected to keep the people safe and protected from any harms.
Do not forget about your people simply because a revolution is occurring. If you stick with your people throughout the revolution, it is likely that they will be much more grateful for your presence. Also, be ready to support them after the revolution in order for the revolution to have a more positive effect rather than a negative one. In the Haitian Revolution, Toussaint Louverture was one of the most highly regarded officials of the war. He was even elected as leader after the first wave of the revolution. However, after the first wave, he still enforced citizens to continue working their farms and farming sugar in order to make money for the country, which was essentially the thing that caused the war in the first place. This caused a lot of controversy and anger within the revolution, which caused the Haitian Revolution to continue for longer than expected.
The general demographic, women, do not be afraid to do what you must do.
History has shown that women usually have little effects in wars, but as modern times came upon the world, women had more and more significant parts within the war. Now that women are in the 21st century, women can have almost the same position as men in society. Women can fight in the military, or they can decide to take care of things at home. It is your decision now to fight on the field or from the stands, and either way, you will be able to make a difference.
The women in this movement were particularly upset about the 15th Amendment not giving women the right to vote, but African Americans did gain suffrage. They took matters into their own hands, even beginning before the war in the Seneca Falls Convention in 1848. Eventually, due to the suffragettes' hard work, the 19th Amendment granted women the right to vote. It was the work of many women, including Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Susan B. Anthony, that allowed for this to happen, and even though men were involved, the women had the upper hand in the Revolution.
Well, Victoria, how can one tell when a revolution is over?
When the revolution is over, there will not necessarily be more tranquility and less conflict. Sure, the revolution has occurred and things have changed, but there is an apparent conflict.
That's true. Even after America had originally won the American Revolution, the War of 1812 still happened, and it happened because of the Revolution.
It took a little more fighting in order to truly gain peace with the enemy. Britain would steal their ships and their sailors, keeping them captive and saying that the sailors were still technically British citizens. Even after the war and the changes that were made, there still had to be more fighting in order for the peace to ultimately kick in.
There's a clearly defined winner or loser of some sort, a new idea, governmental power, etc.
That's right, America was the clear winner of their revolution. They defeated the British Army and drove them out of America, after all.
In the century that followed independence, the United States did become the world's most democratic country, but it was less the direct product of the revolution and more the gradual working out in a reformist fashion of earlier practices and the principles of equality announced in the Declaration of Independence.
Increased nationalism.
Nationalism is known as having pride for one's country. And particularly in America, this happened, especially after the War of 1812, whenever the national anthem was written and the Americans won the Battle of New Orleans, showing that they could defeat Britain a second time.
These are the fundamentals that you need to know for a revolution. Please contact 1-800-REVOLUTION for more info. Well, Victoria, how can one tell when a revolution is over? You're just like, I'm sorry.
Are we ready?
Yes.
There's a
Now that we are in the 21st century, where women have almost the same position as men in society, women can fight in the military. Hold on, I'm gonna take out all that part.